I'm doing a bit of a poster tutorial. First thing you want to do is create new. You can do 18 by 24, which I did originally, but if you ever plan on selling them, 16 by 20 is way cheaper to produce and create. They are smaller, but that's usually what I go for now, is 16 by 20. And yeah, so I kind of had an idea. So my kind of idea, I did it with a my greed poster, which I haven't posted before. I did it with that retro disc kind of thing. It is a very kind of straightforward idea, but basically I thought maybe this hand would be trying to grab a brain, and the idea behind it is maybe grab the idea, you know, try to get the thought. But it is very straightforward. But when you're picking images, make sure that you go to a place that you know allows you to take their images and use them for free. Like this one would be perfect, but Adobe makes you pay for it. Like they don't make enough money from all their other services. Instead of finding a brain image, I actually don't know if this is licensed or not, so it's probably, this poster is not going to be sold. When you guys are making your posters, make sure that you get a licensed image. Yeah, if you're gonna sell them. I mean, if you're not, it's probably fine. I need to cut this out. How you do that is like, it's pretty simple. I mean, you guys can figure this stuff out pretty quickly, but basically you just go up here and one of those, and then like, not that, but like you select subject at the top, boom, it just selected it for me. And then you copy it by hitting Control J, and then you can delete the bottom layer as long as it made a good cutout in your opinion. So this looks pretty good. I just need to cut out the middle piece here, which shouldn't be too hard, and you delete the bottom layer. So yeah, that's pretty simple. And to get this selection, all you really need to do is you can do this quick selection tool that usually works for most of these, and then you just hit backspace. And there's also a little section here that I'll take care of pretty quickly, like that. And I didn't select that bit, so I need to probably use this. That doesn't really look very good. And then obviously once it gets down to the really fine details, you probably want to use the lasso tool, or you can use the pen tool. So you can just use this, and I'm gonna be pretty rough with it because it's gonna have a bunch of effects on it that like. And so yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like there's quite a lot of edges on this already that you can see. Yeah, make sure that you don't invert the mask. So the next thing you kind of want to do is make sure there's a black background, or you can experiment, try different things. Try like doing like a space background, because that's like very like space is kind of known for like the retro futuristic style type of thing. So that's annoying. My brain doesn't have the bottom half there. That's probably fine actually, but it's just annoying. That's not really what I was hoping. This thing could probably get much bigger here. I may do it this way. It looks better with the hand. I don't know. Yeah, experiment with your composition depending on what type of thing you're doing. I may kind of go like for something like this. That looks pretty okay, I think. Okay, so usually what you want to do is kind of do some fun effects. So first thing you'd want to do is go to filter gallery, and if filter gallery isn't working, which for some reason it's not working for me, you have to go to image modes and put it on 8-bit. I think it's because I'm on my laptop and it just doesn't work very well sometimes. Anyway, you go into filter gallery. I would duplicate it, by the way. I duplicated it before I did this just in case I regret what I do to it. That's right, you have to choose colors. So I would go with like, I don't know, go with whatever you want. I'm gonna go with like a blue for fun, because I haven't done like anything blue before with this. So, and then you go filter gallery, and you can mess with like a bunch of different stuff like that. All right, there's even like, there's like a glass effect. I don't know, you can do like a bunch of stuff if you want. Actually, what I may do is reverse the colors, and again, you just gotta experiment. Like this is gonna look pretty, if you just mess around, you'll see what I mean. So if I invert the colors here, this is kind of the effect we're getting now. It looks very kind of, it's opposite, right? This one looks pretty cool, the charcoal. You also want to zoom in and make sure you like the texture, because trust me, the texture is going to be way more visible than you think. You could also go for like a halftone, which I mean might work. It depends on what kind of style you're also trying to go for. Like, I mean, I'm going for like the more reflective kind of like robot, almost metallic look. Isn't really possible without investing a bunch of time. This is like kind of a more simple type of way of doing it, and there's more ways of doing it. Oh, that looked really cool. Hold on, I may just leave it, which kind of sounds dumb, but I may just leave it. I'm gonna try to add some effects on top of the brain. I don't wanted to make it more of a purple. See, that looks pretty cool. This is kind of the look I'm gonna go for. It's very like weird looking and it's kind of cool. You can always like look up some other tutorials on how to do more reflective looks and stuff, but right now I'm kind of lazy and just going for the filter gallery. Ow. Okay, I'm gonna say that's pretty good. The next step that you probably want to go for is copy it. You just hit Control J for copying, by the way, and you probably want to just like keep the old one just in case at the bottom. You can turn off the visibility. And for the second one, you want to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian, and you probably want to go for something around here, and then you just go here and you hit Lighten. And you see it creates like this glow effect, right? And for the second one, you want to go Filter, Blur, Motion, and yeah, probably maxed out about here. And then you can also go for like a lighter color or a linear dodge add or whatever. You can mess around with what you want. Even like go here, you know, like check out what kinds of things it could create, you know. I'm not gonna go for any of these things because like they're just not what I'm going for. Oh, that looks really cool actually. I may just keep that as an overlay just because of how good that looked. So yeah, like as you're just working, you may just find some things that just look really neat. So again, I'm just gonna go Gaussian blur. Like even that looks really cool. Okay, so basically what I did, this you may not want to do on yours, but I did it to make it my brain look better. I took the regular one with all the effects on it and stuff, and then I put this on top of it. So this is just a duplicate with Gaussian blur on it, and then put on linear burn, right? And then I put it in a group, I copied the group, and then I hit Control E. What that does is groups it, okay? And so then it created this also cool kind of effect, and then I did this, okay? So this is a little too bright. I'm gonna mess with the colors a little bit more. Basically, the reason I did this was because this makes it darker, right? It makes it look kind of like way more textured. It looks very cool, right? Kind of like with this, I don't know, look, it just looks neat, right? But I wanted it to be a little bit more glowy with this effect. So what I was going to do is take this bottom and do blur, and then put it on linear dodge. But look how bright that is. It's way too much. And the reason that is because it's overlaying on top of this. And even when it's below this, it doesn't create the right effects. So it just doesn't work, which is why you have to collect them into one layer. It may not make sense to some people. People who are a little more advanced, they'll totally get it. Basically, yeah, so I had to collect these into its own layer, duplicate it, and then create the glow. And now it kind of has like a better look than before. And that may not make sense, but that's kind of, just trust the process. That's kind of what you have to do sometimes. You guys may not even be doing that because you're doing some other item ideally, because I don't want you guys copying, but I mean, some people will. And then from here, you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to duplicate the bottom layer, go filter, blur, motion blur. It's just motion blur and Gaussian blur. That's the only blurs that you're going to be using. And basically, I'm going to take this off for a minute. And to do this, you can actually use, I really like to use levels. You can use curves, but levels just makes it like way easier to use for me. And what you usually want to do is put it on clipping mask. And all clipping mask does for any super beginners is it makes it only affect this layer, okay? It only affects this top layer. So it only affects the glow layer. This is the Gaussian blur. I don't even know if I spelled it right. That's that layer, okay? And so levels is only going to affect this layer because it's on a clipping mask, okay? You see the arrow? If it was on here and it was at clipping mask, then it would only affect this bottom layer. It wouldn't affect the hand, okay? So for example, like if I was to actually do this, right? It doesn't affect this. If I take it off the clipping mask, it affect it, you see? So that's why you put it on a clipping mask, so that you can make sure that it doesn't affect anything but the layer that is below it. And so what you use this for is to control the amount of glow that you want. So obviously this is affecting how purple it is. So I kind of like that. And then the middle one usually affects kind of like both sides of the color spectrum. I like it over here, it looks nice. And then kind of like a little bit more glowy there. See, that looks pretty cool, right? Like it's looking pretty nice and glowy. I don't even know what the fuck I just did. And you would probably want to do the same thing on top of this one. You just do the same thing. You just click this bottom one and you hit levels, create clipping mask. You just right click, by the way, right click to get to here, clipping mask, and then you just, it creates like a really cool effect with these streaks. So I kind of like it there-ish, and then this, you can kind of mess with it. I like it there, honestly. And then here, like, you can kind of make it like, I don't know, it just looks cool, right? So yeah, I might want to make it, I kind of want to make it a little bit brighter, and then this a little bit. See, this is kind of creating like a cool look, right? It's got like a very reflective, glowy, like, I don't know, it just looks sick, right? And yeah, so here you can also go back and mess with the blending option you want. I still quite like linear dodge add at the moment, so I'm gonna keep it that way. Brain is looking pretty cool, and usually what you do, I'll just do motion blur. I'll make sure to keep it organized for you guys. I'm usually not very good at that, but and then this I'll just call brain. So this one is our brain unflattened. Well, this is our like base brain. Like, it's before I don't even know what to call it. Name it whatever you want. Try to stay organized. I'm not very organized. And then we can just call this brain, right? So this is our brain. It's collected, and now you can maneuver the whole thing connected, okay? So that's why you'd want to put it in a group. You can also hit control to put things into a group. You can just hit control to easily put stuff into a group, which is the same thing you can do. You can also hit this button down here, and it just makes it nice and enclosed and easy to maneuver, you know, because that's kind of what you need to be able to do. Now it's kind of just a matter of doing the exact same thing for the hand. And I'm kind of realizing something, which is not good, is my motion blur is not reaching as far as I want to now that I've changed it. And what just happened there is I deleted the motion blur layer, and now my clipping mask is released. This may be confusing. I suggest if you guys are not very advanced to watch some tutorials before you watch this, because it's obviously pretty complicated. Okay, we're back to square one now. All I did was add the motion blur layer back in there. I was thinking about making it kind of a little bit different colored, but I don't really know what I'm gonna go for. This kind of looks neat, actually. The smudge, I don't know how I'm feeling about this. I may go for some different colors because I just don't love like the hand color. I think it looks a little bit weird. I don't really like it, honestly, where I'm taking this. I think I may mess around with doing a colored effect because I just think it'll look better. I'm thinking blue again. I'm gonna mess around and see if I can find something at least. So I kind of found an effect I really like, actually, and I'm gonna mess around with this. I like maybe going for like almost like a red. Like, I might just make it look like really, I don't know how I feel about the red. Maybe like a yellow? It's just, it matches with the brain too much. I want to go for like something really different, you know, like not similar to that, like not in that color. I might go for like red. I might go for red. This looks pretty crazy. I may do this. Yeah, honestly, it looks a little bit silly right now, but as I add effects and stuff, it's gonna look better, honestly, I think. So yeah, we just put on some Gaussian blur. Same as always. These effects are gonna be like ones that you're always putting on your stuff if you're like going for this type of style. So there we go, and then we can mess with the levels. This can go off. Wait, clipping mask, turn that off, and then, ooh, that looks nice. I like that a lot. It's creating something really cool. And then levels, create clipping, and then I forget that it's not on the right. Hold on. Linear color dodge add. Just creating something really weird, and I don't know if I like it. It's just like really funny looking. I might go for like, that's probably fine. And then maybe I turn down the opacity a bit, and then I don't know how I feel about this. I don't like it that much, honestly. It's almost too red. I don't know. It feels just weird. I might just try some curves to see what it looks like that way. If I go for curves, does that help at all? It feels, I think it's because of the colors that I'm using, and yeah. I think I'm honestly gonna leave it there. I don't want to mess with it too much, honestly, just because it just doesn't, yeah, honestly there it looks fine with the opacity a little bit lower. And then that looks good. I may just like bring this down a little bit too. In terms of, yeah, that looks good. Honestly, we're pretty close to done, which is surprising. The effects are not that hard, honestly, once you get them. There's still some more stuff that we can add and make better about this, though. This feels like it's a little too bright, so I'm going to add a curves on top of this so that it makes it a little bit like, you can already see that looks way better. You can add text to yours if you want to have like something in the background or something, like maybe mess with something and just see if I can create something kind of cool. I don't know. You can add text if you want to. I personally am not gonna. I don't think it looks good with what I'm doing. But basically what I'm going to do is add a little bit of a splurge at the bottom here. And the way that I do that is I usually go to ChatGPT. I'm not a very good writer, which is why I'm doing this, and I'm just using AI as a tool. Grasping an idea is akin to catching a fleeing butterfly. So I may just go with this. I'll basically copy it, and then at the top here, type, and I need to find a decent font, so probably some, oh, here it is. This is what I want. To catch a fleeting butterfly, patience, so cut it off there. This looks a little odd. Oh, that's why. Okay, so you just go like this. So that's roughly pretty good for like some text, I guess. I'm not gonna mess with it much. It honestly doesn't work that well because of how probably want some more text, honestly, but this is kind of just a general idea. This isn't going anywhere, so besides it's a tutorial, so yeah. I'd say this is pretty good. Text could definitely be better. You can't really read it, which is an issue, but yeah. And from here, what I would do is, yeah, either add some text if you want, or like you could add like a space background, like I said. So next step would be probably add like a texture to mess with some different backgrounds. I actually kind of want to, so I'm going to try something. So this is kind of the space image I chose. So yeah, this kind of looks cool actually. I might do like a little bit here. That look good there. I may do it like, I want it to be kind of more subtle, you know. I don't want it to be so prominent. Like it's super prominent, and you can totally. And then what you want to do is, I'm probably gonna blur it a little bit. Add the glow obviously, but also actually blur it to make it look like it's in the background, so that makes it look pretty cool. I'm not gonna put motion blur on it, the background, just because it'll make it look a little too much, I think. And then you just hit create clipping, and I think that looks pretty good, honestly. This can get toned down a little. This, it's probably good. It's probably good there. And then we can kind of connect these. This is the brain, or this is the background. And this is also the background. This, I'm going to blur it just a little bit. Gaussian blur it just a tiny bit. Not much. I just want to make it look like it's not the main focus, right? So yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of like it, honestly. I think it looks neat, kind of in the background. Add something to look at. That's kind of usually the theme for these kind of retro futuristic style types of things. Yeah, it's got that glow, it's got that old effect, which is kind of the goal, right? And before we add a texture on, actually, here is a little tip that I learned from design syndrome. You make a layer, you go edit, fill, and then you want to make it 50% gray. Boom, and then you go to filter. Yeah, it's pixelate, pointillize, and then you make it the lowest possible, and then you hit Control U, and you can just lower the saturation to 0, or you just make it black and white. That's basically the only rule. And basically this is a grain. This is gonna make it look nice and grainy. So as you can see, we're getting some pretty cool looking, interesting looking effects here. Very cool retro look. So the vivid light looks very good. You can always go for your normal overlay or soft light look. This even looks very cool. This isn't what I would go for just because, but like, it's a totally different style, you know? You just experiment and it makes it look very different. I like it kind of honestly maxed out. I think it looks very good. I honestly am gonna remove the text. I don't like it right now. Mostly just showing you guys how I get text, but like honestly, it's just ruining it. I actually really like how this is going, and I just don't want the text there. So the last thing that you can add, this is always in the description of my videos. These are like the best packs for assets in my opinion. They're called flares. You can also make your own flares. They're pretty easy to make, but there's some decent flares in here, honestly. If you can find a good one, like there's this one's pretty good usually. This one's also really nice. This one, usually I go white, so you just desaturate it. And now I'm looking back at this looks a little too bright, which is not ideal. I'm gonna lower this just a little bit. I'll be able to edit a little bit more later anyway, so it's fine. Anyway, put this on here, then put it like, let's put it like just on the hand, like right there-ish. I'm gonna make it quite big so that it's noticeable, and then you can copy it and rotate it, hold shift, and that'll make it kind of like this, and then you copy it again, rotate it to about this angle, and then you make it a little bit smaller, hold alt so that it stays in place, and you make it a little bit smaller, and then you can take this one, Control J it, Control T, and then just rotate it this way. And now we created a bigger, better flare. Basically connect all these together, and we just go flare. And basically what we were doing when we were making it smaller is just creating streaks here. That's basically what we were doing. And yeah, so now we have a big flare. We can turn down the opacity just a bit, not much, and then we can also copy this and move it up to maybe the brain. We want it on top of the brain, so we have to make sure that it's on top, roughly around there. And then you can also make them a little bit smaller if you prefer, and that's looking pretty good, honestly. I think it just adds like little touches of glow, you know. It looks pretty cool. That's kind of the final little details, you know. And then of course go to Design Syndrome, subscribe to him, and get his texture packs. He has a free version, and I've been using the free version, and it's got like some insanely high quality textures. I can't explain how good they are. There's some decent textures in Astral and Balance, but dude, these are just so much better, dude. I'm giving you guys the sauce by saying that. Like, this is so like, of course this isn't what I would go for, this isn't like that good, but like you can kind of make it work, you know. Like, there's some cool things you can do with it. You can also mess with, like, I don't know, kind of doing like a mask, I don't know, like that's not obviously, like that's not what you want to do, but like it can create like some really crazy stuff, you know, if you know what you're doing. We're gonna go overlay. That's kind of the final. And then what you want to do, you just click all of your and select everything. Some stuff you won't need, obviously, and then you can just collect it into one big group, and you can call it what, poster, sure. And then you copy it and Control E, the same sequence that we've been using for everything. And as you see, it seems to be not what I wanted, and I think I know why. But actually that looks pretty cool, but that's not what I was going for. I know why, actually. So if we delete this and then we go in here, because the grain went on top, so actually that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes because you have different things on different like overlays, when it combines into one, it ends up like not properly doing it right. So you kind of have to add effects on top later. So this is kind of everything just without the grain on it, and then you copy it and connect everything up. And so at the moment we just have this look, which looks pretty cool, and we want to put the grain on it, and now we have the right effect. This is what we were wanting, right? And of course you can, if you were wanting to go for that kind of effect, you can just do it, but it was kind of on accident, I'll be honest. I didn't mean to, but that's just to make you have a bit of a more grain effect. Looks nice, but I just don't really want to do that. You could also go with linear light. That looks pretty cool too. Isn't something I normally do, but I'm going to try it just for fun. That's kind of the finished poster and the finished tutorial here. For the last little bit, you would probably want to merge these two together, but I kind of always group everything together, copies, just in case I ever want to go back. I kind of always just go back and make copies and groups and things. For this final one, I like to do some camera raw on it, which always makes things just look a little bit better, and it'll make it you be able, oh, and this happens too. This is just all of the edges, so if that happens to you, all you have to do is Control A, it selects just the canvas, and then Control J per usual, and then you can delete the bottom layer. And now we have a nice canvas. And so you can just mess with the exposure. I kind of like having it a little bit lower. I like having it a little bit brighter. 40 looks, that looks pretty nice. Highlights, having them a little bit lower kind of makes it look nice. Shadows, I think a little bit brighter there. Just mess around with it. I have no like real rhyme or reason for what I'm doing. You can also mess with temperature. I like having it just a little bit yellow. It makes it look a little bit more like old. Retro, you can always go blue if you're going for that vibe. It also looks pretty cool, but I kind of want to go with like maybe just a little hint of yellow, you know. Not much, but enough that it's noticeable. Blacks can be a little bit darker, I think. Texture, usually I like to up the texture quite a lot, but because of the amount of grain, I don't feel like I want to mess with that too much. Clarity, putting the clarity seems to make it look pretty cool, so I'm gonna up the clarity by like 30. We'll go. Wanting to go back, you just double click on the node, by the way, and it will kind of make it go back. Desaturating actually makes it look pretty cool, so I'm gonna stick with that. I don't really love to mess with the curves too much, honestly, anymore. You can always mess with your colors here. I honestly feel like it looks good. I don't know if I want to mess with it too much right now. I may make the blue a little bit brighter, actually, for on the planet. I think that could look kind of cool, having that a little bit brighter. It's just brightening that up. It looks pretty neat in my opinion. This may look different for you also if you're on a newer version of Photoshop, but there should be just very similar settings, just a little bit different. And you can always mess with these filters as well. This one looks pretty cool, but I don't think I'm gonna go for it, honestly. There's lots of cool filters you can go through and just mess with, but honestly, I'm pretty happy. That one looks pretty cool. I don't know if I'm gonna go for any of these though. That one also looks neat. This also looks pretty cool too. A lot of cool stuff you can mess with. You can make multiple versions. I may make a multiple version with this. Honestly, because of the tutorial, I'm just going to do the main version for now. And from here, all you do is file, export as, and you can go as PNG, which is going to be the highest quality, and you aren't going to be able to share it anywhere, but you're going to have the highest quality, which is always nice. And then you can always go for JPEG, which sometimes will still be too high of a quality, so you'll have to just lower this to about like 50, let's say, and you can always mess with like the resampling or whatever you want to do, but a lot of times it doesn't change it a lot. And yeah, I usually do 2 renders, one for videos, one that I may eventually put on a website. You know, PNG formats are just way higher quality, so that's the one I prefer to use, but it's like way bigger, obviously. And that's the end of the tutorial. I hope everybody enjoyed. Please subscribe if you're into design content. I'm hoping to drop a store pretty soon, selling most of my posters. Probably not this one because the brain doesn't seem like it's a free image, which is kind of disappointing. I actually really like this poster. And yeah, please don't copy. What I suggest is maybe going on Pinterest, inspirations, and then doing your own thing with it. I kind of came up with my own idea here. I hope that nobody like copies it. You can always take like the inspiration of the brain and maybe do something else off of it. But yeah, always make sure to try to make it your own. I know that there's going to be some people who just copy, but I hope this helped. If you guys have any questions in the comments, by the way, just let me know and I'll try to answer all of them. See ya.